Speaker.
I call Catherine Delahunty.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker.
Nā koe.
Tēnā koutou te whare, he mihi nui ki te Tauranga Moana, no me haere mai ki te whare paramata, to the kuia and kaumatua here today, the whānau here today, and the voice of the pepe that we heard in the chamber urging us to remember this is about mokopuna katoa, the next generation. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here for this moment of history, your history, which Te Rōpū Kākariki wishes to honour, acknowledge and to support the bill all the way through its process, and to honour and acknowledge the extraordinary effort of Ngāti Ranginui me Ngāti Pūkenga, Hapū katoa o Tauranga Moana in your incredible survival, commitment to change and willingness to rebuild a future in Aotearoa alongside us Pākehā, despite a painful history which has been touched on already by the ministers and other speakers this morning. I just wanted to acknowledge a quote from Charlie Tawhio. For more than 150 years, 5 generations of our people have been carrying an unbearable pain that this weekend will end and will allow us to get on with the work of moving forward. We're very pleased to hear the Crown has acknowledged that up till now it has not properly dealt with the injustices we've suffered, that it now recognises we had control over our tribal area up until it started the war with us in 1864 that caused real suffering for many of our people. I think that is a really important quote in terms of understanding the history of Tauranga Moana. And the little that I know as someone who lives up the road in Hauraki, this is a wealthy, beautiful, fertile, amazing part of Aotearoa, and nowhere is as unique as the settlement, but also some of the unique disposition that took place, the violence that's been visited in this area. So I just want to acknowledge that war is a good way to steal land. And so what actually happened in 1864 is that we who've been taught such limited history think of it as there was a battle at Gate Pa. There was generosity and honour shown by tangata whenua warriors, and those things are true. But that's not the reason there was a war. The reason there was a war is described well in a historical account that conflict, quote, in the Tauranga district between the imperial troops and Māori warriors became inevitable when in January 1864, 3 ships landed almost 700 soldiers at the tiny site settlement known as Te Papa. At the time, the government claimed that its intention was to prevent Māori from Tauranga and the East Coast lending support to the Kingite forces in the Waikato by sending men and supplies to Waikato. However, the government was also keen to increase the amount of fertile land available for settlement. Provoking a fight in the Tauranga district would provide a reason to confiscate productive land. That is the truth of the matter. Provoking a fight would provide a reason for raupatu. And as the Minister said, some 50,000 acres were taken in raupatu, and that in subsequent forms of legalised theft right up to the late 20th century, including the infamous Public Works Act. I just want to honour the survival and the determination of Tauranga Moana Iwi and their commitment to work together where they share common interests to develop a future, and it's not a simple matter. And others know this better than I, and we will hear more, no doubt, through the Select Committee process. But it is a total tribute to those people. And my deep concern about this is that Pākehā do not understand, and I would venture to say in Tauranga it's the same as everywhere else, with this wealthy place with many wealthy and comfortable homes, where there are many Pākehā people living comfortable lives in a context of an extreme dispossession which they don't understand. And I was disappointed when the Minister of Education said that the land wars education in Aotearoa is a choice for schools. It was not a choice for tangata whenua in 1864. It was not a choice when the Public Works Act took their land. It was not a choice to engage in the treaty settlement process. It was a necessity in order to consider the future for Mokopuna. And how is it a choice for my culture to not know these things? How are we holding our heads up and saying we will not teach our children what has happened? How can the settlement be full and final if we do not have the understanding in my society of what happened and why it happened? How are we going to get the buy-in? And it really disturbs me because I know that Tauranga Moana Iwi have worked very, very hard to create this with the Crown. But my culture is still ignorant. I recently went to the freshwater consultation process and I was horrified by the blatant ignorance and racism of my own people in talking about relationships with natural resources. And as we know, natural resources are at the heart of this settlement in the sense of the damage that's been done, particularly to awa in the rohe, but not only. I was there when the Rena founded and helped scrape oil off the beaches, and that is a continuing hurt for Tauranga Moana. So this is a contemporary issue. How do we have a relationship? How do we manage our resources? So the Green Party believes that education of everybody, tangata whenua, tangatiriti, katoa, and Aotearoa, is not a choice, it's a necessity as a peacemaking parallel process alongside this important process that we're here to do today. And if we don't follow those things, we're going to have a whole lot of people floating around with their ignorance on news, on their talkback shows, hurting other people, misunderstanding their place and being ignorant about history. And I believe it's the Parliament's responsibility to do better than that. As we are doing better than that today with these processes, we have to do better than that with education. So that every citizen in Tauranga Moana understands what happened at Pukahenahena in Tauranga, understands what rohi they're in, knows the names, the places, the history, the meaning of why we are here today and how this is about giving back 2% of what was taken. Not to paralyse my culture with guilt, but to inform us with the ability to engage with respect to history, a deeper understanding of our own place, and a recognition of the value of te tiriti of Waitangi as a place where we can all stand if we stand with honour and respect. But if we don't educate our own, while the tangata whenua are bending over backwards to build a relationship, then it's on our heads. It's our failure. And we as elders of this country, those of us who are older, over the age of 25, need to take some responsibility for this. There are many interesting and moving parts to the settlement. And one of them is the maunga. The maunga of the rohe, the beautiful Otani Wainuku and Pūwhenua and Mawao. These peaks and their story. I was a young person when I was told the story of the mountain that fell in love and then could not have his beloved, and the Patupaerehi tried to help him throw himself into the sea. And if we understand that story, we understand that what is driven so much of the treaty settlement process is law, is economics, but it's really love of whenua, love of maunga, love of awa from the tangata whenua side, and that we all need to know the story and feel the love that actually supports Tauranga Moana's identity for everybody, based and started with the stories of the tangata whenua, which are more than stories, they're whakapapa. So it does disturb me a little, and no doubt we'll come back after the select committee process, that the maunga peaks are being returned. And recently we had a doc briefing about what conservation land was available for settlement, and I was disturbed by that briefing in the sense that my culture just seems to refuse to be as generous as we need to be. So it's more than the peak, it's the maunga. It's more than reserve status, it's full return. That's what we would like to see in many of these settlement bills. It's more than right of first refusal, it's a generous return of a theft. Because when you steal something, you don't normally, the thief is not normally giving it back. Kia ora koutou katoa.
E te mana whakawā.
I call Nuke Karako, 5